Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Taquan Lee, and on behalf of Setting the Record Straight, I'm coming back with another video just to pull some film from a video that I already released. But if you don't watch the full video, I just wanted to pull this for you guys so that you can have this information. But yeah, with saying all of that, I just wanted to talk about how, most Islamic groups and Muslim Islamic people tend to, try to find contradictions or try to find error within Christianity or call it corrupt and all this other stuff. But I just want to show how we can find error, contradiction, but then also paganism and Freemasonry within the Muslim and Islamic faith with the Quran. Now, they've compiled many different writings, many different quotes, but then also I went to this dude in Young Pharaoh. By the way, disclaimer, I do not agree with the language that he's using. I don't agree with him calling people out their names and all this other stuff and the provocative words that he's using towards them. No way, shape, or form am I feeling that way towards these people. I believe we should love our enemies, love our neighbor, but at the same time, we definitely should expose evil, because I don't care if it's my brother, my cousin, or anyone of that sort. If you're doing evil and you're promoting false doctrine, it needs to be exposed. So therefore, we're saying that people talk about how Christianity is impure. Like I'm always showing videos when I do Islamic videos, because I got to show this. This is what this man said. And this is from Uthman. I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but he's from the One Message Foundation. But this is what he says about Christianity.
Follow that which is preserved or that which is tainted. Let's say I bring you 2 cups right now. I bring you 2 cups of water. One of them is pure water from a well, fresh, no nothing, pure water. One of them, Sneeko peed a little bit in, just a little bit. All right, I'm just saying, it's an example, right?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, right? So one of them's been tainted a little bit with Sneeko pee, and one is pure, untouched. Which one are you gonna drink? The pure one, of course. Come on,
how are you going? Oh, Christians are going to be so mad that you just compared the Bible to pea water.
Look, I'm just saying.
That was, oh man, Christian.
All I'm saying.
I gotta go home and think about it.
All I'm saying.
So it's showing you guys that let's show the impurity within the Quran and the Islamic faith. Transfer it over, but there is no such thing as himself being on that committee doing any type of work. But like his writing style, I mean, if that's how they decided how to put it and frame the Bible, what's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with his writing style and how he did things. But if they added his ideas or if he added his doctrine and what Freemasons taught, then that's a different story. Now, I believe we're at the more juicy part of the segment. Reason being is because, let me position myself good. He made the claim that basically Christianity or the Bible, whatever you want to put it, is associated with Freemasonry. But let me show you straight from the source, the Oasis, how the Quran is more so involved with Freemasonry than it is Christianity. Now, I'm making this claim, so let me back it up. Now, let's go to Morals and Dogma, the book right here by the boy Albert Pike. Let's go to Morals and Dogma, page 11. Let's see what they say. And it says, the Bible is an indispensable part of the furniture of a Christian lodge, only because it is the sacred book of the Christian religion. So therefore, if you're in a Christian lodge, you're going to use a Christian Bible. You're going to use the Bible. KJV, NIV, RSV, whichever one it may be. But it's going to be a Bible. But then it says, the Hebrew Pentateuch in the Hebrew lodge for the Judaism people, and the Quran and the Mohammedan one belong on the altar. But listen closely to these words, people. You gotta listen very, very closely. I'm going to read that over. The Hebrew Pentateuch and the Hebrew lodge and the Quran and the Mohammedan one belong on the altar, and one of these, only one out of those 3 is only going to be one. And the square and compass, properly understood, are the great lights by which a Mason must walk and work. So therefore, out of these 3 books, one of these books is going to be the book which is going to be a light, which was supposed to be a light that the Mason must walk by and work by. But let's find out which book that is, because it didn't tell us in that page 11 which book it is. Now, like I just stated to you, on page 11, it didn't tell us which book it was out of the 3. So let's go to page 34, and we're going to find it. Now it says, what does Freemasonry teach? And it says, and Jesus, the son of Joseph, the Lord, the Messiah, and his apostles. And after this, Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, and with his law, which is the law of Islam, and the disciples of truth followed the law of Islam. So it says the disciples of truth. Because remember, that light by which a Mason must walk is one of those books. And it says, and the disciples of truth followed the law of Islam. So if you follow the truth from Freemasonry's perspective, you follow Islam. Now, to Hamzaddin, to the 3 Muslim brothers, to the One Message Foundation, or One Truth Message Foundation, and all these other groups out there, to them, they may be thinking, yay, point up, 2 points up for, Islam, because we're the ones said to walk in truth. But let's find this out, though. Let's find out, is Islam truth? We already talked about Freemasonry, how it's not true. But let's find out for Islam, though. Now it says this. And this is just some extra stuff that I want to add on to it. And it says, in Morals and Dogma, page 53, when Christianity had grown weak, profitless, and powerless, the Arab restorer and iconoclast, if I'm saying that correctly, came like a cleansing hurricane. But Khalid, the sword of God, who had marched from victory to victory, exclaimed to his weary soldiers, let no man sleep. There will be rest enough in the bowers of paradise. Sweet will be the repose, nevermore to be followed by labor. The faith of the Arab had become stronger than that of the Christian, and he conquered. More excellence, or even common honesty, as Mohammedism, if I'm saying that correctly. But as you can see, Albert Pike highly valued and had high praise for the faith of Islam. Now, if that wasn't enough information for you already, coming straight from the source talking about this, let's go to somebody else. Now, this man is named James D. Shaw. And by the way, he was a 33rd degree Freemason. He was a Knight Commander of the Court of Honor. He was a past worshipful master in the Blue Lodge he was in. He also was a past master of all Scottish Rite bodies. So he was somebody very, very high within the occult of Freemasonry. This ain't no small fry we dealing with. Now, he has this book called The Deadly Deception by James D. Shaw, as I mentioned him, and Tom C. McKinley. And it says, The Deadly Deception, Lafayette, Louisiana, Huntington House, Inc., 1988. Now, it also goes on to talk about the book, and it talks about the 33rd degree initiation ceremony. And it says, the oath is sealed by drinking wine out of a human skull. Weird. May this wine I may now drink become a deadly poison to me as the hemlock juice drunk by Socrates, should I ever knowingly or willfully violate the oath. A member dressed as a skeleton places his arms around the candidate, who then states, may these cold arms forever encircle me should I ever knowingly or willfully violate the same. Now, so some of you, me mentioning this stuff, it just may be, talking about other stuff, or it's stuff that's, irrelevant to the subject, but it's going to go into what I'm talking about, trust me. And it says on page 62 of his book, each of us was presented, along with the Scottish Rite Ring, a copy of Albert Pike's book, Morals and Dogma. We were told that it was the source book for Freemasonry. It's the source. As I just told you before, we're going to the source. And it says, we were told that it was the source book for Freemasonry and this meaning. We were also told that it must never leave our possession, and that arrangements must be made so that upon our deaths, it would be returned to the Scottish Rite. Now, you may be wondering how I may have gotten a hold of this book, and it definitely wasn't because I'm a Mason, by the way. Even though I got family in it, doesn't mean I'm involved in it. But, you can get your own copy of this. I'm not going to tell you how, but there are ways you can get a copy of this if you want to search for the knowledge. But then also, it talks about on page 58, the Scottish Rite includes 29 degrees beyond the Blue Lodge, culminating in the 32nd. The York Rite has the equivalent of 29 degrees of the Scottish Rite. And yet, so basically you can either go through the York or you can go through the Scottish. That's all it's talking about. But it says, Scottish Rite and advancement along with path culminates in the degree of Knight Templar. In addition, the shrine, ancient Arabic order, nobles of the mystic shrine, is available to the 32nd degree Masons and Knights Templar who wish to participate. So if you are, in the 32nd and you're picked to join this, then you can be able to join the Knights Templar, and then also you can join the ancient Arabic order and nobles of the mystic shrine. So by the way, Arabic is obviously talking about those in the Middle East, but that's the Islamic Faith, people who identify with that stuff. But let's continue though, and it says on page 74, the shrine, ancient Arabic order, nobles of the mystic shrine, page 73. The shrine, the show army of Masonry, maintains a very high profile, ... It is necessary to be a 32nd degree Mason for 6 months before being eligible to join the shrine. I don't see a page, but let me go into the statement. It says, shrine in name of Allah. With the Quran on the altar, we sealed our solemn oath in the name of Allah, the God of Arab, Muslim, and Mohammedan, the God of our fathers. What? Because, in the Bible says the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is, our fathers that, is referred to as Judaism and the Jews, but they're taking it as, Muhammad and their fathers and whatever or not. But as you can see, it says with the Quran on the altar, when they're in the 32nd, 33rd degree, or in these other different shrine and lodges, they're being told that basically the God of their fathers is Allah. And as you can see from Morals and Dogma, from a high Freemason who left, called his book The Deadly Deception, he says in his own book that the Quran was placed on an altar when he was in those high degrees, and that's what he was initiated into, and now it's supposed to be the God of their fathers. But then also, if that's not enough for you, he goes and talks about the complete oath, and it says, in willful violation whereof may I incur the fearful penalty of having my eyeballs pierced to the center with a 3-edged blade, my feet flayed, and I be forced to walk the hot sands upon the sturdy shores of the Red Sea until the flaming sun shall strike me with the livid plague. And may Allah, the God of Arab, Muslim, and Mohammedan, the God of our fathers, repeats it again, support me to the entire fulfillment of the same. And this is what they're introduced in the in the ancient Arab order of nobles of the mystic shrine. This is what they're being taught. This is the oath that they have to take. Some serious stuff, people. You went on to accuse Christianity or King James or whatnot, or the Bible in general, whatever it may be, you accused that to be involved with the occult and Freemasonry. But as we can see, your religion is heavily rooted in the occult. Heavily, because it's stuff that I haven't even mentioned yet that I left for another video that I'm going to bring at another time. But I'm just releasing this one so that way I can answer this claim that you've made. But then also, I'm just going to go show you guys a quick, few things that I have for another video that I'm working on. But I just want to show you how also in the Islamic faith they use corrupt signs and everything like that. Like they use the star and crescent. Most people try to say that that doesn't identify with all of Islam, but people identify it with the majority, and in their secret societies they identify with it. But it's the star and crescent, basically sun worship, moon worship. Then also people don't realize Allah, he was the moon god who married the sun goddess. Together they produced 3 goddesses, so we're called the daughters of Allah. These 3 goddesses were called Alat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. So basically, Allah has kids, he has children. He doesn't have a son, but he has daughters. So you see how they try to take away from the God of the Bible. He can't have a son, but Allah can have daughters, and he can have sex with people. Because from the Bible, in the Old Testament and New Testament, God the Father never had sex with anybody to produce the Son. They were always there. God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit were always there. But as we can see from this, Allah is having sex to have his kids. So I'm just showing y'all what it is. But then also, we can see at the bottom of this quote that I have, It says the Encyclopedia of Religion mentions that Allah is a pre-Islamic name corresponding to the Babylonian Baal. So not only does your religion have ties to Freemasonry, but then also I can show you how your religion has ties to Catholicism. Your religion has ties to the ancient deity of Baal that was supposed to be forbidden from the Israelites, the one true people of God, not the lineage of Ishmael, but the one of Isaac. As we can see, your religion, buddy, is the one that's corrupt. Now, with saying this, no way in form I'm trying to bash you, come at you as a person or a human being, no way, such a form. But what I'm doing is, you have made the statement that this religion is false. Your friends or companions or people in your religion have made statements that this religion is false. But there is no such thing, and that is not the truth. Now, I'm just going to go off with a few more other statements before I leave this video off, because I want to get this point across very thoroughly that this religion is no different than any other pagan beliefs. But then also, let me go to... And it says right here from www.britishisrael, and it says the Encyclopedia Britannica says the deviations in the Quran from the biblical narratives are very marked and can, in most cases, be traced back to the legendary anecdotes, if I'm saying that correctly, of the Jewish Haggadah and the apocryphal gospel. Much has been written concerning the sources from which Muhammad derived his information. There is no evidence that he was able to read, and his dependence on oral communication may explain some of his misconceptions. So this man clearly was not somebody very intelligent. Not to say that that's, what you need to be in order to, be a prophet or any of that sort, to read, write, all that. But clearly, he wasn't all the way together. And I can show you information at a later time how this man, may have been demon possessed when he got some of his information from so-called Gabriel. And we all know that, I'm just not gonna go into that because I'm gonna go into a whole different story. But no, I just wanted to show you from this source that I have that a lot of their information in Islam comes from the Apocrypha and other Jewish, legends and stuff like that. But then also I can go to certain information within the Quran, where in Quran 1928, Quran 1612, and the Quran 3:35 through 38, it mentions Mary and stuff like that, but it gets her lineage wrong, her genealogy and stuff like that. Muhammad mistakes Mary and her lineage for the Mary from Aaron's brother, and Aaron's sister, Miriam. He mistakes her for the Mary in the New Testament, and the Mary in the New Testament for the Mary in the Old Testament. But then also he talks about in his information about how in order for the male to have the dominant gene, he has to climax first, or for the woman to have the dominant gene or the child, she has to climax first. It doesn't work that way scientifically. But then also I can go to certain writings for you where it talks about how violence is okay in Islam. But then also, let me just go to a few sources real quick so I can read you some things. And it says this, in the Muawiyah, if I'm saying that correctly, I saw the Prophet sucking on the tongue or the lips of Al-Hassan, son of Ali. For no tongue or lips that the Prophet sucked on will be tormented by hellfire. And this is Musnad Ahmad, if I'm saying that correctly, 16:24-5. But most people might try to say that it didn't represent that, but if you look at certain information that I'm going to be bringing to you at a later time, it's clearly going to state that that's what he was talking about, literally sucking on someone's tongue or lips. But then also we can go to the Ibn Sa'd, if I'm saying it correctly, Kitab al-Tabakat, if I'm saying that correct. Excuse my pronunciation, people, because I'm not big on pronunciation with stuff like this, and I ain't, used Rosetta Stone in a while, since, middle school, elementary. But with saying all that, it says in the Kitab Bahavan, 2009, page 439 in the volume 1, Muhammad said Gabriel gave him sexual intercourse power equal to 40 men, and the people of paradise will be given the power equal to 80 men. So we're going to have sex in heaven. We're going to be having sex in heaven, people. That's what we're going to be able to do. But scripture clearly tells us that we'll be like the angels in heaven. We won't be given in marriage or any of that, but we will be sons and daughters of the Most High God. So this clearly isn't aligning with scripture out gate, but then also he's talking about how Gabriel gave him sexual intercourse power. Nowhere in the Bible has God given any man this some sexual intercourse power. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I'm not gonna even go into that conversation, but I don't even understand what that means, people. But this is what it says in their books and in their writings, which doesn't make any sense. But then also, let's go to how. Let me skip that. We can also talk about how. We can talk about how Islam faith, they identify with the all-seeing eye, and the Catholicism, they have that stuff in there as well. So like I said, Islam identifies with Catholicism. Not only that, but they also identify with paganism, and they also identify with Freemasonry. All that's wrapped up in one, basically telling you that it's not from God, people. So Hamza Din, what you're talking about, Sir Francis Bacon, editing the Bible or translating the Bible, there's no information on that, but there is knowledge and information and evidence that your religion, sir, stems from Catholicism. And not just only Catholicism, but it is rooted in Freemasonry and paganism. But with saying that, sir, and people, I hope you enjoyed this video and me setting the record straight on what is really truth and then what is error. And in dude's terms, don't know his name, but you know what is really pure and impure. I'm outside right now, so you know, my bad if the audio is terrible and all the stuff in the background, but I didn't explain how, you know, they said one of those would be on the altar and why is it like that. You know, that's one thing I didn't explain. Now, I don't want to leave you guys off like that. So with saying that, if you don't know, and if you haven't watched my other videos that I've posted, Freemasonry in the high degrees, learn and find out that Lucifer is the light bringer, the light giver, and he's the good guy, and that Adonai, Yahweh, aka i.e. Jesus Christ, is the bad guy. That's what they find out. And I have a reaction video that I'm gonna post later on, where I'm talking to a 32nd degree Mason for 3 hours, but I'm gonna post it on half of it because that's too much. But I'm gonna talk about how he said the same thing. So this is not something that, you know, is just a coincidence. Reason being is because since these people believe that Jesus is the bad guy, if you look at the Islamic faith, yes, they believe Jesus was a real person. Yes, they believe him to be a prophet, all that stuff, but they don't believe him to be the son of God. So they take away from his divinity. Freemasonry wants to destroy Christianity. The Islamic faith does the same thing by destroying Christianity and take away from Jesus Christ's divinity. Yes, you talk about peace be upon him and all this other stuff, and great blessings to him and his mother and all this other stuff, but you take away from his divinity. That's who he is. He is God. He is God incarnate in the flesh, and you can't take that away from him, period. So with saying that, that's the whole reason why the Quran is accepted in Freemasonry rather than the Pentateuch and the Christian Bible. It's because they don't accept Jesus Christ. They don't accept the Old Testament, so you can't accept the Pentateuch, which is the Torah, who was brought by Yahweh, God. So I'm just telling y'all what's the facts, and I'm setting the record straight. So I just wanted to let y'all know about that and fill y'all in on what's truth and what's not truth, what's pure and impure. But also I'm gonna show you this video real quick about this gentleman named Young Pharaoh. A disclaimer with the language that he used. I don't support the language he used and how he's saying it, but what I'm gonna say is I support the message that he's trying to relay to people, which is that Muslim faith is corrupt, and he's gonna show you why, and I'm gonna get that point across to you guys. And have a blessed day. Get your word. Jesus is coming. This is the signs of the times, at the end of the times.
Now look at this Ku Klux Klan uniform. What do you see? It got the Islamic star on there. Now we know that white people are not Islamic. So we have to ask ourselves, why the fuck does the original KKK uniform got the crescent moon and the star? Because they were fucking Shriners. They were Masons. Look at this book, right? This book came out in 1915. This is before the Nation of Islam was even thought of. The Nation of Islam was not founded till 1933. This book is called the Quran with the K, because the K is for Turk, for Turkish terminology. Just like on this Shriner hat, you got Al Quran. These motherfuckers was Freemasons. You can go buy this book right now. The Quran, Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. This is the KKK Freemasonic book. And then what happened was Marcus Garvey came, and Marcus Garvey started trying to wake black people up to be psychologically Afrocentric. And so what these white Masons did was the same thing they did today. They put agents all in the black community to push Islam, because our original slave masters were Arabs. I keep telling y'all, before whites ever enslaved us, Arabs enslaved us. And so they gave us Noble Jew Ali, who was, and I exposed him, or everybody I'm about to name, I already exposed. Noble Jew Ali was pushing Islam. Freemasonry came after Marcus Garvey. Elijah Muhammad pushing Islam. Freemason came after Marcus Garvey. Whatchamacallit? Louis Pussy Farrakhan, Freemason, helped kill Malcolm X, came after Marcus Garvey. Now watch this. The KKK, they took off the Islamic robe and they gave it to these motherfuckers. But the crescent moon and the star is symbolic to Baphomet. Look, and Albert Pike, who is the one who introduced the Ku Klux Klan into Freemasonry, is the one who gave them this symbol, because Albert Pike in his book Morals and Dogma, which I'm finna show, admits that the god of Freemasonry is Lucifer. So the KKK took this shit off and they gave it to these motherfuckers. And they out here talking about the white man is the devil. Meanwhile, the NOI and the KKK been clicked up the whole time. The whole time. That's why we haven't went nowhere. And if I'm lying, where is Farrakhan right now? Farrakhan, he's quiet because that nigga is a Mason. Don't believe me? Look right here. What's that? What's that? What's that? They sold us out and don't nobody want to say it. Don't nobody want to say it. I'ma say it. This shit is all planned and it's all set up. And the grimy ass niggas of the black community have been working with the grimy ass bitches from the white community in these Masonic lodges in order to deceive this country and bring this motherfucker down. Now, this is Albert Pike, 33rd degree Freemason. This is the nigga who transferred the Ku Klux Klan and brought them into the sector of Freemasonry. This is why the KKK have grand wizards. They go by degree. They do everything that Freemasons do because they are a Freemasonic hit squad. That is what they are. That is what they are. Call it like it is. Now watch this. This is a book right here that Albert Pike wrote called Morals and Dogma. And I typed this shit up, this shit from page 102. It says the true name of Satan, the Kabbalists say, is that of Yahweh reversed. For Satan is not a black god, but the negation of God. The devil is this personification of atheism and idolatry. So that's one page. Now, if you get this book and you go to page 321, Albert Pike also says, Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, is it he who bears the light, and with its splendors intolerable, blinds feeble, sensual, and or selfish souls, doubt it not. Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rites of Freemasonry. The fucking book is right here. So don't tell me that these motherfuckers don't worship the devil. I don't give a fuck if you believe in the devil or not. Don't tell me they don't. Don't you tell me that. If you are a Freemason, you worship the devil.
33rd degree Freemason. Now I know that Billy Graham organization denies that, but it's still the truth, because we know, according to the honest 33rd degree Freemason who was truly converted to Christ when he believed the gospel and was saved by the grace of God, his name was Jim Shaw, that when he was inducted into the Order of the 33rd degree in Washington, D.C., he said there were two former presidents there on that in that council, and one of them was Gerald Ford, a 33rd degree Freemason who pardoned Nixon, and the other was Jimmy Carter, 33rd degree Freemason. So there they are at the Grand Council. Another one was an international evangelist, which he later told others that it was Billy Graham, because the publisher refused to put Billy Graham's name in there. So Billy Graham was there. So Billy Graham is nothing more than the high-level Masonic shill for the papacy, which is also fraught with Freemasons if you read the book In God's Name by David Yallop. And so we talk about Robert Schuller, for example. Robert Schuller is another 33rd degree Freemason. He went to Rome to get the Pope's blessing to build his Crystal Cathedral. And Robert Schuller is a personal friend of the anti-white, hateful racist Louis Farrakhan, who is another high-level Freemason who runs the Nation of Islam for the Archbishop of Chicago. So we have all these high-level Masonic leaders, black and white, of all these various different religions, working together for agitation among the peoples of this country, but never ever exposing the papacy as the true heart and soul and its real master.
That. Also, if this was true, you can bet that instead of people just claiming that the Bible was changed, they would simply prove that the Bible was changed. It would be very easy to do. It is also imperative to understand that the Bible is by far the most scrutinized series of texts in the entire world, and that there are many brilliant scholars who really dislike the Bible. And you might be surprised to find that the educated critics of the Bible don't argue things like the Bible was changed by the Vatican. They are much too familiar with the ancient texts to fall for that. With the Old Testament, it's even easier to prove that it wasn't changed. You should know that until very recently, about 1947, the oldest copies of the Old Testament were only about 1,000 years old. This was because the Jewish writings were destroyed in 70 AD when Rome destroyed the temple, where most of the writings were stored. These 1,000-year-old writings were called the Masoretic texts, because a family of scribes called the Masoretes owned them. But everything changed in 1947 when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, which dated from around 300 to 100 BC to 100 AD. And among the texts they found fragments from every book in the Old Testament except for Esther. Modern-day Jewish people held their breath, awaiting to find out if the ancient scribes had faithfully handed down the scriptures during this 1,000-year gap between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Masoretic texts. What they found was that an almost flawless preservation of the text, word for word, was handed down. It actually wasn't a huge surprise for the Jewish people that the scribes had done such a good job preserving the text over the 1,000 years, because the ancient scribes took their jobs really, really seriously. In fact, it was said that if they messed up even one word, they would actually scrap the whole thing and start over. It was also said that they would ritually bathe every time they wrote the name of God. Now I want you to consider the absurdity of claims that people like Francis Bacon changed the Old Testament. Because in order to believe that, you have to believe that Francis Bacon not only changed the Masoretic texts, but he also discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls hundreds and hundreds of years before anyone else did, and he crawled in there and changed them also. The thing is, even though the scriptures that we have in English are in English, we can use a concordance to find out what the Hebrew words were, and then compare them to the ancient texts, to find out that there is no way that Francis Bacon or anyone else changed the Bible. Some of you might be thinking at this point, okay, it wasn't changed. I realize that whoever told me that may not have known what they were talking about. But maybe it was written by them in the first place. And in order to prove this wrong, I'm going to move to the next form of argumentation, which is logically and literally. Let's first look at it literally. And I mean this in the sense that the literature of the Bible is extremely anti-Illuminati and actually gives a blueprint for their defeat. As many of you probably know, the Illuminati or New World Order system is very much one based on occult beliefs. The exact same belief system, down to the specific worship of the same Sumerian and Babylonian gods in exchange for power and control, is the very system that page after page of the Bible is exposing and condemning. So let's look at a few examples. The worship of the god Moloch is a good example. This is something that the Bible says that the kings of the earth were doing. Now, the way to worship Moloch was by sacrificing children primarily. They would do this by heating up the metal hands of the statue of Moloch until they were glowing red, and then placing babies on them until they died. This again was being done not by uneducated people, but by the kings and queens. This is significant because no one would tell the kings and queens what to do. They were choosing to burn their kids alive as a sacrifice in exchange for power and their offices. More literary examples include when God took Ezekiel and supernaturally showed him what the leaders were doing behind closed doors. He told them to go warn them that God was going to bring judgment on them if they didn't repent. He showed them that the politicians were secretly practicing the occult. He showed them that the worship of Tammuz was going on, which is still a central aspect of the Illuminati religion. And the next thing he showed them was that the secret worship of the sun was going on with the leaders behind closed doors. And so that makes it really hard to believe what I call the zeitgeist version of history. See the movie Zeitgeist Refuted, Final Cut for more on that, because once you read about God's judgment on these that secretly worship the sun, it's pretty difficult to imagine that the Bible was encouraging the worship of the sun, not to mention that all the things in Zeitgeist are untrue, and again, see the movie that I mentioned, Zeitgeist Refuted, Final Cut for more on that. The Bible speaks out against what it calls the secret power of lawlessness in many ways. One of my favorite verses is in Psalm 2, where it says, "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." Another reason why it's not logical to think that the Illuminati wants us to read the Bible is that the very Illuminati system itself, which is sometimes represented as a pyramid, is a system that requires certain elements in order to function, which are threatened by the Bible. Those elements are the compartmentalization of information within their own system, that is, that the people at the bottom know less about the agenda than the people above them. And the second aspect is secrecy. The Illuminati is a secret society. Secrecy about their intent, about their identities, about their motives, about the nature of their power. It's all supposed to be a secret or it doesn't work. But the Bible exposes all of their secrets. And not only does it expose what they're doing, but also why they are doing it. And probably most importantly, how they are defeated. And for more on that, see my video, Russ Dizdar, Exorcism, MPD, SRA, The Black Awakening. History shows that the New World Order has literally done everything in its power to keep the Bible from the public. And that brings me to my last form of argumentation, which is historically. It only took a few years after Jesus' death for the Roman emperors to start to see the Bible and Christianity as a threat to the Roman Empire. It was by the time of the Apostle Paul that the Emperor Nero began his infamous attempt at the extermination of Christians. In fact, the Apostle Paul was recorded to have been beheaded during the persecution of Nero. Nero actually used to have Christians dipped in tar and lit on fire to light his garden. Some say this is where the term Roman candle came from. This killing of Christians continued for almost 3 centuries. It records them being fed to the lions like it was a football game or something. In fact, the Emperor Diocletian, in around 287 to 305, he ordered all copies of the Bible destroyed. He actually was quoted as saying, "The Christian religion is destroyed and the worship of the gods is restored." Obviously, he was wrong. So if you think that the emperors of Rome were trying to encourage people to read the Bible or to become Christians so that they can control their mind, you're not considering history at all. After the fall of Rome, it actually got worse. The Roman Catholic Church eventually demonstrated that Rome had never really fallen at all, and had simply began ruling under the guise of the Church. Rome's same worship of the ancient Babylonian and Sumerian gods continued under different names, being attempted to be merged with true biblical Christianity. The problem this new merger had was that the Bible clearly debunked the idea of popes and worshiping of Mary and the saints and all this stuff. So people that read the Bible immediately saw through the Roman Catholic Church and saw that they were deceiving people about what the Bible said in order to control them. So they did what you would expect them to do. That is, they made the Bible illegal around 1200. And the translations that they did have were all in Latin, so no one understood what the Bible said for hundreds and hundreds of years. Alive with the copy of the Bible that they illegally owned. Now let me ask you, does that sound like the actions of a group that wants people to read the Bible? Let's fast forward to the modern day and ask ourselves the question, do you think that the New World Order has any influence on the state schools or the universities? Well, why are they so anti-biblical? Or do you think that they have control over the music industry or the movie industry? The idea that the Illuminati changed the Bible doesn't make any sense. Thanks for your time.